Hello everyone, this is Sonali. So today we are having someone special guest with us. So they are not just only talking about the human behavior, emotional healing or transformation. They invested many years to understand the real mechanism, how people breaks, how they need to heal. So everything they not only bookish knowledge they are having, they having all the knowledge from their journey, from understanding by the people. So let's welcome today's our amazing guest, Mr. Mark. So welcome.
Hi, lovely to be here. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
It's great. And I know, I saw your story. I know how you started, but we would love to know from you how your journey started and how you uh, started Luis Foundations.
Yeah, for me, I'm an old man, so it's like my third journey started years ago. But if I tell a little bit about my past, just because it explains who I am, I guess. So I was brought up in the UK in a foster family, and
Okay.
that was back in the 70s. Being someone of a mixed race was quite hard. So I had a hard upbringing and a hard childhood as a foster child. My family comes from the Caribbean and from Scotland. So I had a life where I was always looking for who I was. I never really understood who Mark was. I was always split between two cultures, if you like. And it caused me lots of disturbance, lots of anger, lots of problems. And I was naughty. I wasn't good. And I got involved with drinking too much and drugs. And it just made my life very difficult. There's many stories that people have that are similar. What happened about 11 years ago, I was fed up with this type of life. It was too much, and I've done years of therapy, talking to doctors, and having that experience. My whole life, I've always been self-employed. I've always had different businesses, worked for myself, been quite
Okay.
successful at times, but always had bad habits. So it didn't matter what I did, the money didn't last. And I wanted to change that. So 10, yeah, 11 years ago now, I decided to find a system, to find some way to make myself better and to feel better. And for me, that's what created the Luos Foundation. That was the beginning of it. I used to do work in treatment centers and help people with addictions. I used to help family, friends, other people try to understand their lives by my own life experience. Because sometimes if you talk to someone that has gone through something similar, it helps you understand who you are. And for me, when someone talks about their life and if you like their problems, and then they want to help me, I can listen better because I think you understand it. You can relate to it if you like. So the foundation was set up for a way for us to talk from our body upwards instead of my thoughts, because you can't change your thoughts. Your
Yes.
thoughts are created from your past. So if you've had a bad past, it's not like you can get an eraser and rub it out and turn it into a wonderful past. It'll still be the same. But what I've done is I've done a program with the foundation that takes away that emotion. So I can talk about my whole childhood, my whole life, everything, and there's no emotion involved. And it
Okay.
started the foundation because I want to help other people that we can all be on a journey, on a pathway, and get off it and change. So, the foundation, when I started it, was to help younger people, the youth, so I could share some of my message so they could realize it doesn't matter what your life was, what it started as, you can change it. You can be
Yes.
successful, you can be happy, you can be joyful. And that's where I live
Definitely.
now. I live in joy and happiness because my cells and my body, that's how we're built. When we're built as children, we're happy. When we're 4 or 5 years old, we're not unhappy. We just play. We just smile all the time. There is no hate. There is no problems. But through life, we get little things go wrong, and then we become resentful and angry. So the foundation is a way for firstly, it started for me to help myself. And then that's expanded because lots of people have resonated with it. And I enjoy helping people now, sharing the knowledge. As you know, we have the 78-day reset, which allows people to find their own system. So like when we started talking, I talked about the computer and how the computer works and how our body works the same way. And now
Okay.
my body works like a computer and it just works with good software instead of bad software. That allows my brain and the hard drive, if you like, to pump out good information.
Yes, 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 absolutely. And we live to live a life happily, right? Not in problems, not in stressful, not in that. But you are doing a really amazing job. Means here in this earth, no one is listening about others' problem. Every person have their problem. They are thinking about their problem. So the person who listen others' problem and understand that is literally I can say that is the amazing thing, and you are understanding them and you are giving the solution as well. So this is really amazing. So what is your next goal from Luis Foundations?
The next goal is to expand it, to give more knowledge and to help more people, we're hoping to build a machine at the moment that will have tones and different vibrations that will talk to the body, not the ears, because it'll be millions of hertz. So it'll be a bit like you imagine a dog whistle. We can't hear a dog whistle, but the dog does. Same as us as a human. The machine that we hope to have will have a symphony of sound and it will play to the organs and to the cells so it hears and helps change people from the inside out because like you said, we can't change life and sometimes life has problems. So,
Yes,
sometimes life goes wrong, but it's how we deal with it. It's the same way if someone's angry at you or shouts at you, we could shout back. But when we do, that just makes them shout more. If you smile at them and realize they might just be having a bad day, it helps them find themselves. So for me, the foundation wants to help in schools, help children grow up a certain way, help in many ways. I have many ideas, thousands of it, if I'm honest. But so I was talking about today is having a medical school for women. So you have a
okay.
medical school that teaches women's biology, not man's biology. Because if you think for the last 100 years, medical school talks about man's body, not a woman's body. And I think it's time that we change that. And we had the whole system. So a woman would go see a doctor that would treat them on their physicality, not on the man's physicality. So for me, the foundation is I want to grow it. I'm looking for people to help me, to work with me, because I have Dr. Kruti, I have a Rosanna who's going to be helping us. I have other people that help me on this journey, but to have for us to get to more people, the more brains, I guess you'd call it, the more people involved, the better
Absolutely.
it is. And that's why when I met you, I was like, whoa, what you're doing is amazing. And it was a pleasure to start talking to you.
Yes, great. So I understood now. So no, means I haven't saw the persons like this. Means I'm already means seeing the person, those who are having their problems and sharing their problems, and the persons, everyone having their problems, they are not ready to listen others' problem. So as of now, I saw this situation. So that is the way I feel you are doing a great job, and so already I know you are doing something amazing. These all the things. So I wanted to see some examples from your journey that did the transformation. Just one or two example. You did whole transformations. So what was the before and how the life is transferred after?
So for me, the transformations happen quite many ways. So I'll talk about my blood because that's
Yes.
really the biggest transformation. What happened is because I had a life of trauma and I had a life of problems, my
Mm-hmm.
brain used to tell my body all the time that I was in trauma and they had to look out. So I had high white blood cells, really high white blood cell count for 15 years. What that meant is my body was at war with itself. It was looking for the next problem, the next thing to happen. So when I did the reset and I went through that, what happened is my blood now has changed. It looks like a young person's blood because I don't have high white blood cells, because my blood and my body is at peace. It is calm. And that was done by going through the reset, allowing my body to change naturally and gradually because it's over 78 days. It's not a quick fix. And what it taught me is very simply. life has problems. Life will go wrong. Like today,
Absolutely.
as
Yes.
I mentioned, I had to have the man out for the boiler. I spoke to someone today also that was saying he was explaining that his neck was hurting and things were happening. And I said, this is normal. These things happen. I tell everyone this. If
Yes.
you sleep badly, wake up in the morning and give gratitude for that bad sleep because it shows you when you sleep well, the difference between the bad sleep and the good sleep. So the blood for me, that was one of the biggest changes. Also, my thoughts. My thoughts are different now. I don't get angry. I don't get upset. That doesn't mean I don't have moments where I'm upset or I'm not happy, but they don't last. They just change and they just disappear because we store our emotions and our hurts and our anger in our cells. When we allow them to go and just come out, we don't have that anymore. So imagine they've proved in science that when we cry, the tears when I'm happy have different protein than the tears when I cry. When I'm sad, have different protein. It
Yes.
shows that my body wants to get rid of that and wants to release that. And, I know that I'm on a place where people have computers and software, and it's the same as that. Same principle, our bodies work the same way. You have to let the bad. I have to refresh my computer, my phone, because if I don't, it gets clogged up. My body works the same way. We spend thousands upgrading our phones and our computer tech. But if I ask someone to spend £100 upgrading their body, they look like I'm mad sometimes. And we should be all doing it. We should all be looking inside and going, let's refresh our bodies because the reset works on having a fast every 6.5 days. That's like the reset of the body because it allows the stomach to have new cells, new organs, new cells, and new lining of the stomach. That creates that new freshness. So for me, these are the biggest changes in my life. I look differently at the world. I love everyone in the world. I don't have anger at any part of it. Same way as in family. You can have family that you love them with your heart, but that day you might not like them very much. So the love doesn't disappear, but you still have that moment where you're not in alignment with them. And this is how I want to show people to live. Because when you realize that life isn't perfect, when you realize things will go wrong and you can't always have good thoughts, it changes everything. Because then you're the same as everyone else. Because we're so busy looking out there at what I call the snake salesman that will say, take this pill, take that, everything will be wonderful, you'll feel great, everything will be perfect. It's a lie. There is no perfection. You can't have it. It doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
Even people you look at, we look at the billionaires or the rich people. They're not
Mm-hmm.
happy. They're not
Yes, yes.
always walking around
Mm-hmm.
happy. Those the happiest people are. The happiest people have no money. They live somewhere with no money, a very simple life. Those are the
Yes.
happiest people I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Great. So, according to you, what is the definition of success?
Oh, definition of a success is waking up in the morning and having breath. That is my definition of a success because without that, I have nothing. So when we look at success, we start talking about the house, the car, the money. But all of that's no good if I have no health. Because if I have no health, I can't have any of that. So for me, success is waking up in the morning and having good breath. On top of that, then you have the success of having a family around you and all the things that that has because you could lose everything all your money but if you have family it doesn't matter so that to me that's success not wealth not money because that is what society tells me is successful for me being alive and healthy is my success.
Okay, it's great. It's great. So, what I having a family is like we can say it's blessing.
Hmm. Very much so when you have a family you have people around you that love you it's a great blessing and it's one of the best things you can have because they will always be there to support you and be there when you need them. So family is very important. And in business is even more important because sometimes you need someone that you can trust to tell you the truth, which means sometimes you need someone to say, well, Mark, that idea is not going to work. You need to do it this way because if we have people around us who nod their heads and say yes, we lead down the wrong garden path. So success to me, everyone wants monetary success. That comes after you have the family, after you have the health. The monetary success, if you believe in yourself and you have an idea, just keep moving forward because what happens is we move like waves, an ocean. We move backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. But we always move in a forward direction like an ocean because it keeps eating away at the land. So it always moves forward. So when something goes wrong, I always say this on my path, there's little pebbles. On the little pebbles, all I have to do is step on them. That problem will disappear. I move on. If I look at the pebble as a problem, it will grow into a rock. When it grows into a rock and I get to it next week, it's difficult to move. It will be a
Yes.
mountain, then I can't get past it. So always look at something ahead as a small pebble that you'll be able to step on, feel a little pain, and move on. Because as soon as you see it as a problem, it will get bigger and more difficult. And all the successful people I know, they've never done anything perfect. Everything's always had something go wrong. They just have the intent to continue because they find something that they want to help people with.
Great. So I also saw the people, those who are saying I'm perfect, they are lying. Definitely they are lying.
For sure, for sure.
Because here no one is perfect. And
Mm,
if you wait for the perfection, you will not succeed in your life. That is
mm.
also a real thing.
Yeah. And in business, don't wait for the perfect moment. Just do whatever you want to do. So many people, I've always, when I've done business, I've always done it upside down. So what most people do, they'll say, I'll use this as an example. They'll say, I want to be a hairdresser. I want to open a salon. So what they'll do is they'll go buy a shop. They'll buy all the equipment. They'll put a sign up. And then they'll sit there and no one will turn up. And they'll say, well, why didn't it work? What went wrong? I've spent all this money. Me, what I would do is I would just go put a phone number in the advertise somewhere. I would say, if you want your hair cut, call Mark. I'll come to your house and cut your hair. When I built the client base up, then I would go get my shop. That's what I've done with all my businesses. I've built the client base first. I've got their interest in the business. After that, you can get the physical building, start spending the money. Same with the Luos Foundation. A lot of people don't realize, everything that you see with the Luos Foundation, I funded it. It hasn't taken a lot of money. It hasn't taken millions or hundreds of thousands of pounds because that's just for ego when people do that. Oh, I need all this money. I need all that. No, you just need belief and intent. When you have that, you can create anything you want. Obviously, to scale, that gets different, and you
Obvious.
do need funding and help. But when you start, you need nothing. Nowadays, we all have the ability to have a computer. We live in a technological world where when I look at AI, I use three different types of AI to get information. What this does is it levels the playing field. Instead of when I was young, you'd have to get 50 encyclopedias out, flick all the pages to get the information. Now, when I want to see how the heart works, I can tap it in, I can find that information. When I want to find out the frequency or all the studies out there, because there's been so many studies and case studies of what the foundation now uses in our reset. Other people did all that work. I've just tapped into it and used their knowledge and put that in a package that is mine and the foundations. But the knowledge is out there for all of us. So if you have an idea, don't wait, start tomorrow. Put an ad out there. Tell people about your
Perfect.
idea and just share it because you don't know who's watching. You don't know that one person may say, oh, that's a good idea. I want to help with that. And if they don't want to help, you continue to do it yourself. I'm not saying give up your job. I'm not saying quit your work, but put this on the side. Just start. Because there's an
Yes.
old saying, right? I used to tell people in treatment centers, funny enough, I used to say there's three birds on a wire. If one bird decides to leave, how many birds are on the wire? Now, people look at me and most people go, well, two, Mark. There's two because one's left. I go, no. One decided to leave. It never left. It just decided it was going to. The action wasn't taken. Same in business. If you don't put that action in, you make a decision, you've done nothing. Do the action. That's the decision you have to make.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because If we don't have money, it's okay. But if we have mindset and the ability to do that, we can do anything. So that thing we have to come in our mind, that ability we need to have. Then we can think and we can go for anything. Not only regarding related to business, related to job also we can think in that way. For upskilling
Mm.
themselves, for seeing a next position in their company, next company, like that they can think. If they think, then only they can see how the possibility is, what we can do for to achieve that things. So that is also really matters.
Very much so. And it's very important that when in our lives we have the opportunity to do something, try it. Try doing it, with family, same thing, support your family with whatever idea. Even if you think their idea is crackpot, it doesn't matter. It's something that they resonate with, that they want to do. Support them. And for me, support sometimes is walking past someone and smiling and saying, "Hi, how are you?" Because we never know who we can help by that. And
Yes.
it's at work, when you're at work, smile at one of your colleagues. If they're having a bad day, smile. Hi, how are you? Because you don't know what's happening in their life at home, how bad it is or what's going on. And, we forget we're all part of the human family. Human family.
Hmm.
We're all the same. It doesn't matter where we come from, what we do. We are all human because the truth is, if the aliens ever came down here, we'd have to stick together because we'd be different. Not that I'm saying aliens are coming, just so you know.
Yes. So I have one question is for you. So I'm seeing you are too much energetic. What is the reason behind it? What is the exactly magic behind the energy?
Simple. I have lots of energy because I focus my energy on positive. There is no negative. I don't have any negative thoughts. I don't have any negative feelings. So, if I use Buddhism as an example, Buddhists teach about the life force. We all have the life force. I use my life force in one direction only. So it doesn't get tired. It just moves forward. What most people do is they're so busy looking over here, worrying about that. What's going to happen tomorrow? This is happening. Look what's happening over in this country. Look what's happening over there. You can't change it. You can't do nothing about it. Stop worrying
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. Worry about what you're doing. What I'm doing is taking care of Mark, taking care of my energy. Sounds selfish, but it isn't. Because the more I take care of Mark, the more I can help people around me. The more I have energy to be creative, to smile at someone. And that's why my energy is always like it. I'm like a toddler, a little child, a little boy running around. Like, yeah, look, I got it. Because I can't help it. Because I'm so pleased to be of service first, but to be alive. Because as I said, my life, I shouldn't be here. I've abused my body years ago for lots of reasons. Um, I'll share this as well because it just came into my head because, it might help someone. In 2022, I was stood on a cliff and I was stood on that cliff and at that moment, I wanted to jump. I had enough of life because of circumstances. What it showed me is life is precious. I've had other moments in my life like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that preciousness of life, you realize, let me live it to the fullest, because what else am I supposed to do? So I'm grateful, grateful to be here, grateful to be having this conversation. If I make a fool of myself, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not important because it just isn't. What's important is sharing your truth. And my truth is I'm someone that is silly. I'm someone that mixes up words. But who cares? Because it's let's all be our authentic self. We're too busy as we started with trying to be perfect. And when you try to be perfect, you're hiding something. You're building a mask up. And don't live in a mask the best you can. And that's really what the Luos Foundation 78-day reset helps people with. Drop that mask, helps them to go back on a biological level to when they were a child and they had belief. So yeah, just believe because belief it makes miracles. I always say this, trust turns into faith. Faith turns into belief. Belief turns into miracles. Miracles create belief. Belief creates faith. Faith creates trust. That's it. And You live in that world. I try to bring people out of what I call the fear world. People live in fear because the brain gives you fear. When you live in fear, you start to hate yourself. When you start to hate yourself, you become divided. When you become divided, you become at war with yourself. When you're at war with yourself, you're divided. When you're divided, you're hateful. When you're hateful, you become fearful. All you have to do is trust yourself. And if I go back one layer lower, because sometimes you have to be hopeful, you have to find hope. But hope turns into trust. And if you know someone who's not in a good place, give them your hope, share it with them, share your story, because there's many people that have a story like mine to share. If you're worried
Yes.
of sharing it, get out there. Doesn't matter if one person sees it, because that one person may change. That's why I don't lie about my past. I don't pretend that I'm this wonderful person from years ago. I'm someone that had a hard life, but from that I had pain, but that gave me the purpose to help others.
It's really great. Okay, so I'm seeing you are consistent in everything. So, how you are becoming a consistent, how you are becoming a disciplined.
Disciplined. Well, I'm not always that disciplined, but I'm disciplined because it comes from my body. And when you listen to your body doesn't have thoughts in the sense of it, a decision. So imagine your heart was your brain. What would happen one day? Your heart would wake up and go, I can't be bothered to beat today. I don't feel like it. That's the difference. So my discipline comes from my body, comes from the fact that every decision I make comes upwards through my heart. So it allows me to stay focused in what I'm doing. And the truth of it is, the more disciplined I am, the more better I feel because it makes me help more people. It makes me more use for people. And if I wasn't disciplined, that wouldn't happen. I would go back to what I would call old Mark, where it was just where I wanted to do what I wanted to do constantly because it made me feel good. And you're not meant to feel good all the time. Sometimes you're meant to feel sad. Sometimes, I'm
Mm.
someone I'm
Absolutely,
someone that
absolutely.
I can be in the supermarket, and when I'm in the supermarket, I'll start crying, not bawling my eyes out, but tears. I allow that to happen because I'm not embarrassed. It doesn't matter. How someone looks at me is not as important as how I feel about myself. And if when I go to sleep at night, I can lay in my bed and I can be content with what I've done that day, that's all I ask for because nothing else really matters to me nowadays. And, I bless her, my wife, I drive her nuts because I'm always happy, always got a grin on my face. I don't care that much about money. And it means I told her when I started my journey, I said to my wife, she said, I'm not making any money. I'm not going to make any money. I'm just going to help people, serve people. She's like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to live? And I said, well, we'll live under a tree. It didn't go down well. And, it's not how I live now, but it's what my intent is. It doesn't matter. If you want to help people, then you can't worry about their outcome.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And many people, because of the discipline and consistency they don't have, that is the one reason they are becoming a lazy, and that is the reason they are comparing themselves and those who are with their friends, those who are consistent, those who are making consistently efforts, and they are going like they are getting the growth in their life. So they are making the differentiation. Why I am not getting these things? Why am not my salary is not getting increased? Why I'm not getting that positions? So they are not seeing that what efforts that person is doing and what I am doing. So that is also one major thing is happening. So people are comparing with each others, like wise, position wise, salary wise, but not seeing their consistency, efforts, dedication, belief. So what you are going to say for them?
Well, for the people that feel that they should have a better job or they should be in a different position, imagine it this way. So every time you look at your colleague and you're resentful, you're angry of what they have, you're drinking their poison. You're only making yourself upset. They don't mind because they're moving on. They've got the position that they may want. They may look at you, this is the secret. They may look at you and wish that they had your job and less responsibilities and less worry. So while we're always looking at forward at others and being what resentful of what they have, we forget of what we have. Look at what you have, because just because someone has a better job, a better car, a bigger house, doesn't mean they're happier, doesn't mean they're feeling better. They may be
Absolutely.
feeling worse. So your opinions are based on a perception that society gives us. My best advice I could give people, stop watching the news all the time. Stop watching adverts because I don't watch adverts, I don't watch the news.
Nowadays, what happening, WhatsApp status is making big noise in that. Someone purchase new car, someone get new position. Just they're keeping in WhatsApp status, so others are started feeling like, wow, this person has got this thing. What I am doing here? Why I'm not getting? But still, they are not know inside what is inside in that. Because suppose that person is buying one car, even they don't know other person how the car is by taking the loan or by taking how it is exactly, they don't know. Because the person who buys the car, they even might thinking how can I pay the next EMI, what are the things should I have to do for these things. They are not able to sleep peacefully, at least because of that things also. But the people who are seeing them, they are feeling like, wow, how it is getting. That is the reality in today's world.
And we're so busy wishing we had what someone else have. And we're in a world where we talk about millionaires, billionaires, and making money, influencers. Look what this person have. But let's pull back the curtain on that. How often do you hear stories of the people not being happy? What is the largest, suicide people that they're
Yes.
doctors, etc. They're people on high positions. It's not the lower positions. There's many people that have spent their whole life being a cleaner. They've had the
Yes.
best life ever. They're the most happy person. So I think as a society, for me, we need to start looking less at the money, more at the health and the happiness, because I believe we used to be more like that. People used to be happy with their position. They didn't want to keep changing. And I think, especially now with AI and computers and the way the world is going, there's going to be a lot less jobs. If I was predicting something, soon universities won't be here. We won't need them because the AI creates the knowledge that I'd go to university for. It's just how we're moving as a society. What I would like to see is people find more way to be human with each other, to help that person, to look at that person, help them across the road. When we talk about older people, how for me, older people should live in our homes. We should respect them, listen to them because they have the knowledge, they have the experience. But we're so busy now going, well, I know better than them. We don't do that. I live in a country in England where they love putting people in old people's homes. As soon as they get to 65, oh, mum, dad can go in an old people's home. Shouldn't happen. They should be living at home and respected. And that's how cultures used to be, I believe. I don't normally talk about all this stuff, but today I am.
It's great. I wanted to ask you one last question. What one message you wanted to give the people, those for youngsters, for all age group of people, how they need to think or how they need to move ahead in their life?
Love yourself. Be kind to yourself. That's it. Because when you're kind to yourself, every morning, every day, that mirror will reflect back that kindness to you. Because when you're not kind to yourself, your skin sheds 40,000 cells every minute. That anger, that resentment, that hatefulness you put inward goes out into the world. So my advice is very simple. Be kind to yourself because when you're kind to yourself, the world will heal. The world will change. That's my advice.
It's great. And thank you so much from my bottom of my heart. I'm really grateful to have you here. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for uh, taking time for us. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Namaste.
Namaste.